Welcome to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show presented, as always, by Current Electric. I am Mike McGivern. Thank you so much for joining us. Week 5 of the high school football season is here, and it's always amazing how long it takes for the season to get here and how quick it goes. However, I'm not at practice every day, not looking at film every night, not getting together with other coaches on the weekends. So for some coaches, players, and families, it might not seem like it's going all that quickly. But I have to believe for the teams that still have a shot, truly have a chance to achieve that first goal that most teams figure at the beginning of the season, that's to win your conference, the season is moving along quite rapidly. For tonight's game, we move into the North Shore Conference as the Blue Dukes from Whitefish Bay travel to take on the Bulldogs from Cedarburg High School. Let's start with Cedarburg. Under new head coach Matt McDonnell, formerly the head coach at Kettle Moraine, Cedarburg got their first win of the year last week, and they're 1-1 in the North Shore Conference. We are now joined by the head football coach at Cedarburg High School, first-year head coach at Cedarburg. He is Coach Matt McDonnell. Coach, how are you?
Great. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing really well. Hey, so first year at Cedarburg, you got your first win last week. Talk a little bit about that transition. And, I always feel like it takes 4, 5, 6 weeks for teams when you get a new head coach to kind of understand what you're looking for. And talk a little bit about the first 5, 6 weeks with this team and how it's going for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. Obviously, it was great to finally get a win. We've been waiting for that one. We've had some close moments and just couldn't execute. But I think the kids have been awesome. They've been super dedicated and willing to learn and change some things up, and also show us some things how they've done it. Because obviously, it's been a great program for a long time. So we're not trying to come in and do full sale changes or anything like that. And it was good to get a win, and because it's like this, especially the senior class, right? Like feel like they've bought in from the jump. So, you feel like you let them down every week when you don't win. So it was good to finally let them see some success. And obviously now we just got to keep it rolling. But, we were rolling all summer long with, we didn't do a ton of extra work in the unlimited contact days. I think we used 7 days instead of 5 days like in the past. So we took 2 extra days to try to get ready for the season. But other than that, we kept it pretty status quo for what, a normal off season would look like.
Coach, I like the fact that the seniors bought in because that tells me a lot about the program. If the juniors and the sophomores and the freshmen and the youth program see that the seniors bought in to a new guy, because Brian Lear was there a long time, did a great job at Cedarburg. If the seniors buy in, I think that trickles down to everybody else in the program, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. And I think our youth program seems excited, and our numbers are improving down there. And, our lower classes have been having pretty good success so far this year too.
Hey, Coach, let's talk about some of the players, mostly seniors, in fact, that make this team go. And I want to start with your quarterback. It looks to me like Alex is healthy again and playing pretty well.
Yeah, he had his best game. I know statistically probably didn't have his best game last week, but it was just his best game overall as far as his leadership, his decision making, how he commanded the offense. And you could tell he was healthy. We finally got to run him a little bit that we hadn't got to do, and that's obviously been a missing piece of our offense. And so we're really excited for him and his future, especially as he continues to develop and grow as a leader and a player. So yeah, he's been incredible. And the Racine Case game, he got banged up in, and then missed basically the whole game, and then missed almost the entire the first quarter and a half of the Elkhorn game. And we were, after we brought him in, we were a different offense, so it's been exciting.
Yeah, a different team when he's healthy and he's running that huddle. Let's go over to the running back that numbers wise is doing a great job. Jacob Rundy, 77 carries, almost 350 yards. So he's obviously carrying the ball and doing some really good things for you guys on the offensive side.
Yeah, I mean, he's a workhorse. I can't say enough great things about him. We try to get him the ball in as many different ways as we can. We snap him the football. He's throwing a touchdown pass. obviously he's a great runner, just a real hard-nosed, like, physical downhill kid. He's fast and explosive when he gets into open space, but, he wants to stick excuse me, he wants to stick his foot in the ground and drive contact, and, so he's a pleasure to watch. He's one of the most physical kids I've ever got to see run the football. He's already had some of the just massive collisions, and I think everybody knows that they got a key on him, but there's only so much you can do to stop a player of his caliber, and he's going to have a lot of postseason accolades, I'm sure.
Coach, coming from you to say, look, he's one of the hardest, strongest, toughest running backs I've ever had, because you've had some really good ones over the years. I got to tell you,
Yeah,
yeah, there's a couple I could mention from out of Kettle that certainly would be in that description. Let's go over wide receiver. This one's a junior. Lucas Peterman had 10 catches, 142 yards and a touchdown. He's a kid that I know Alex looks for every once in a while when he gets back and he's throwing the ball. And Lucas, as a junior wide receiver, putting up good numbers for you.
yeah, he's tough to match up with, and he I think everybody knows too, like, between Rundy, they got to load the box to stop the run, and then our tight end Ryan Lemke's a threat, so a lot of teams want to, like, double him or keep a safety somewhere in his vicinity, which then leaves Lucas one-on-one, and he's just one-on-one is really difficult. He just has such good ball skills. Like, he just knows when to jump, how to turn to get the ball. Like, if the ball's thrown in his general area, he's going to get it. Like, I mean, I think he's got 10 catches or so on the year, and I'd say probably 7 of those catches he had someone in pretty good coverage on him that he just, like, went and won the ball on. So, he's just a special kid on the outside there that, obviously helps our offense move the chains quite a bit.
Hey, Coach, when we look at the defensive side, and I know there's a lot of guys on that side of the ball that are putting up good numbers for you, but Reggie Welch is a senior linebacker, and he's a kid that I know you've been impressed with him and the way he goes about his business, and he's not afraid to hit people, leading your team with tackles, and kind of the leader on that side of the ball, correct?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Like, I mean, if you see him without his pads on, doesn't look like much. Like, he's not a big kid, but he's super intelligent, super smart, super explosive, and just always in the right fit. He's super coachable. He's just a natural instinctive linebacker. And he's just going to get you to the ground no matter what. And, I can't say enough good things about what he means to this team and this defense. And also his leadership is part of the senior class, and just how he conducts himself and studies the game of football. And, he's always working hard in the weight room and sprinting, and, he runs over 20 miles an hour, and, like, he's just like a perfect high school linebacker.
Man, that's awesome. Coach, you last question, and we'll cut you loose, but you go from what I consider the best football conference in the state of Wisconsin to the North Shore. And I don't know how much below the North Shore would be when you're looking at Slinger and you're looking at Homestead and you're looking at Hartford and Whitefish Bay, who you guys get tonight. I don't think it's that much of a drop. And, you haven't coached a full season in the North Shore, but I think you would agree some really good coaches and some really talented football players in the North Shore Conference.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that was, one of the reasons I was attracted to it is, you want the competition, and like, it is, in my opinion, it's the best Division II conference in the state. I think Classic Eight's just loaded with Division I talent, obviously, and it's the best conference top to bottom for sure. But I think the North Shore is right up there with it, and Homestead is obviously shows that they can beat anybody on any given week. Slinger last year was probably the best team in the state, and both of those coaches do incredible jobs. Hartford's been doing really good football for a long time. West Bend West, Coach Rip has done a great job getting that program ready to roll. I think they're going to surprise some people this year. They have a real good scheme and are physical and strong, and so it's fun week in and week out. For the most part, you're going to get a battle.
Hey, Coach, thank you very much. That's Matt McDonnell, the head football coach at Cedarburg. We're going to get to a break. Other side, we'll be joined by Coach Jake Wolter from Whitefish Bay High School. This is the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show presented by Current Electric, only on My 24. Welcome back to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show presented by Current Electric. We're getting you ready for kickoff as the Whitefish Bay Blue Dukes travel to take on the Cedarburg Bulldogs. We are now joined by the head football coach at Whitefish Bay. He's Jake Wolter. Blue Dukes are 2-2 overall, 1-1 in the North Shore Conference. Hey, Jake, how you been?
I've been great. Appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, you bet. Well, thank you so much for a couple of minutes of your time. Talk a little bit about this year's team. 2-2 again overall. Feeling pretty good about where you guys are at?
Yeah, definitely. We knew coming into this year we had a lot of guys back. We lost, obviously, Harry Bortolotti, our stud running back, to the Badgers. But we had a lot of guys with experience coming back. And we played, I know Madison Memorial is sitting at 0-4 right now, but they've played some really good opponents. They were huge. They were physical. It was just a great test for us right out of the gates, and we were really excited about that first win. Unfortunately, in that game, we lost kind of in a run of about 6 or 7 plays. We lost 4 or 5 of our best players with ankle injuries or knee injuries. And so we've been kind of trying to get back to that form and, getting guys healthy. We're still missing a key piece in Bo Barrett, who was our best player probably overall, offensive and defensively. We lost him to a knee injury. We're hoping he gets back in about 2 to 3 weeks. But then we took care of business against West Bend East, and then Homestead is the real deal. They're a phenomenal football team, and we battled, and it was 21-7 with 5 minutes left in the third quarter, and they returned the kickoff, and they kind of opened it up from there.
Whew. Return kickoff. That always gets the team a little bit, doesn't it? Jake, you've been
Yeah.
around the game a long time, 13 years, been part of the Blue Duke program. Hey, let's talk a little bit about your starting quarterback, a young man that you know really, really well, and I've known for a long time. It's your son, Chase Wolter. I can tell you this, that other coaches in your conference are like, man, this kid's going to be a problem for a while now. Feeling pretty good about how he has progressed and how he runs that huddle?
Yeah, he coming into this year, I was really excited about him having the full playbook knowledge of what we want to accomplish and where we want to go with the ball. Uh, I had no questions with that. The one thing that I wanted to see, especially early on this year, is a little bit more confidence in him. He has confidence, but as that quarterback, as that man, like, you have to have that all the time. And I think, like, even some of the coaches on our staff said, yeah, maybe in that second half, Homestead, took it to us a little bit. But we saw a different Chase in that second half, and he just took command. And so I'm hoping that confidence level of him throwing the ball, carries over for the rest of the year.
It's amazing whether it's like my son is a sophomore playing basketball. Things start to slow down right after a couple of games, and you know that you've been around this forever. Things start to slow down, and as they start to slow down, you just see that confidence kind of raise, and now other players are looking to him to make a play when the game is on the line, and when he starts doing that, there's no holding back. And I love the fact that your son, who, look, he was in studio with me 10 years ago, and thank you for sending that picture. And Jake and a number of his players are going to be in studio with me this Saturday, tomorrow. From 10 o'clock to 11 on Fox Sports 920. If you want to know more about that relationship between the quarterback and the head coach, tune in at 10 o'clock tomorrow on Fox Sports 920. A couple of the players I wanted to tee you up for, Coach, that are doing really good things for Whitefish Bay. We'll start with your junior running back, Latif Love. Is 59 carries, almost 200 yards, and he's a kid that you guys count on to hand the ball off to a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. We knew coming into this year that Latif was going to be a guy that we could count on. But honestly, that's probably a lot more carries than I expected at this point. Like I mentioned to you earlier, Matt, when we played Madison Memorial, we lost 4 of our top ball carriers. So we had to, really rely on Latif. He was the one that, stayed healthy. And then another senior, Finn Sprouse, has kind of been splitting those carries. But we knew Latif was very, very, was a very good running back. But we're trying to get him to play defense too, because he's a pretty good safety. And, when we had all the guys healthy, we were trying to split it enough where everyone got 8 to 10 carries, not necessarily like Latif got 20 plus in that one game. But he's definitely got the ability. Phenomenal runner, strong, explosive, sees the field pretty well. So I'm looking for him to have a big game for sure.
Hey, on the defensive side, Robert Grano, linebacker, leading you with tackles. He's a kid that we've talked to in the past, talked to you about in the past. He's a kid that really shines on the defensive side, does not mind hitting people, has never minded that, and he's a kid that you count on a lot on the defensive side.
Yeah, he is our true leader on this team. People follow him. The way he goes, the way he works is unquestionably one of the best guys I've ever had. He just goes about his business. He's willing to pull guys along with him instead of letting guys fall back. And he's one of those guys we're trying to find a way to take off the field to give him rest once in a while, but he's too good. He's like, where are we going to take him off? At our guard position, at our linebacker position? If we do that, we're definitely going to take a step back, and we don't want to do that, obviously, in some of these tight games. But he's just a warrior out there, and plays through so much.
Hey, we were talking to Jake Wolter, the head football coach over at Whitefish Bay. Last player I wanted to tee up for, Reggie Hart. We had talked about him, and you said, look, he's a jack of all trades. We put him where we need him, and he's able to do some really good things no matter where we put him on the field. And when you talk about a kid jack of all trades, it's kind of nice to have a guy like that, right?
You ain't kidding, especially in this situation when a lot of other guys go down. Even on a Friday night, I remember making a call, and he was at our wing, and we don't flex our wing a ton, especially when we switch him to their side, but I called it, and he hasn't even practiced it yet, and he lined up exactly where he needed to be and knew exactly what he was gonna do, and it was just awesome because I knew anyone else, I probably would have had a wasted timeout. But Reggie is just that kid that knows what everyone on the field is supposed to do at every moment, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, and he wants to be part of everything. And he's been phenomenal this year in every aspect.
Man, that's awesome. Before we let you go, I have to tell you a quick story. Years ago, a few years ago, we're doing a game at Whitefish Bay, and one of your offensive linemen, who's now starting up at Wisconsin, Brunner, I talked to him about my grandson who's playing some offensive line, and I said, look, he pancaked the kid and then helped him up, and he said, hey, are you okay? And Brunner goes, you tell your grandson never to help that kid up. You could be nice to him after the game. You can be nice to the kid before the game, but you never, ever help. And I started laughing, and I told my grandson that. And every once in a while, he'll bring it up. Pop, I, pancake that kid, and I didn't help him up. Hey, Jake, thank you so much. It's good to see you. Looking forward to having you in studio with me tomorrow. Good luck tonight against Cedarburg.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks. Let's get to a break. Other side, we're going to be joined by Andy Irwin, one of the Junior Blue Dukes Youth Football Club presidents in the AAYFL for our AAYFL Spotlight segment. This is the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football pregame show presented by Current Electric only on My 24. Welcome back to the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football pregame show presented by Current Electric. Getting close to kickoff for the Whitefish Bay at Cedarburg matchup. And before we send you over to Terry Kelly and John Weiser, let's talk to Andy Irwin with our AAYFL Spotlight segment. Andy, you run the Whitefish Bay Jr. Dukes program, obviously, with your shirt and your hat. Wondering a little bit how long you've been involved with the Junior Dukes.
I've been coach of this team for 4 years. Just this year, myself and one other coach, the coach of our 6th grade team, Steve Bagoon, actually took the program over. So we're actually running the program as well from Mike Bortolotti, who did it for the last 15 plus years and did a great job.
Mike did a great job, and big shoes to fill. Talk to me a little bit about that transition and some of the sleepless nights that you probably had in the off season.
Yeah, it's kind of figuring out where the bodies are buried and, who our equipment person is, who our retail rep is, and, all that stuff. It's gone pretty smoothly, though. I think, Mike ran it as one person for 15 plus years. I don't think there's any, Steve and I can't have any excuses for not being able to step in and run it as two people. So,
Hey, as a coach for the last 4 years and now taking this on as well, do you see that you'll go back next year and continue to coach, or will you stay more in the management role on this thing?
yeah, it's a good question. I have a son. I have a son, of course, in 8th grade, and I have one that's in 6th. I don't know. I'd probably offer to help out if they wanted it, but they got a lot of great guys coaching that team. So, I had no problem. I've coached football, I've coached basketball, I've coached baseball. I had no problem now kind of sitting on the sideline and letting my voice be heard from there.
Yeah, good luck with that. It gets in your blood. It's hard to get that coaching
Yeah, I
blood
know.
out. I can tell you that. From sitting on the sidelines or up in the stands is, as you know, a whole different animal. Talk to me about the numbers. Junior Duke program. Pretty happy with where your numbers are at?
Yeah, we've been holding steady right around 130 for the last few years. Very strong. So, we're right around 30 plus per team. We have 30 great coaches across the 4 levels. Guys that offer, a tremendous amount of team. When I signed up for this in 5th grade, I had no idea that, you're going to be given a huddle account and you need to get film on these teams and break down film and come up with offensive plans based on the scout you're seeing. It takes me back to high school, and I was in high school in 1998, my senior year, and we were doing the same stuff. So it's it's a lot of fun.
I tell you, it's amazing. And the AAYFL, and this is the spotlight segment, and I thank Greg Clark and everybody part of the AAYFL for getting involved in what we do here on Friday nights at My 24. Talk to me a little bit about all of the training that you have your coaches go through. And one of the reasons that we started this is we want people to understand that football is it's a violent sport, right? It is. But the way you guys go about your business and the practice, the way you practice now with a lot less hitting and teaching the fundamentals of how to tackle, keep your head out of the game, and the things you do is so important to the AAYFL. And one of the reasons we do this spotlight is for parents or grandparents that are a little bit nervous about having their kids play football. AAYFL is doing a great job of making sure that we keep kids healthy when they play.
100%. Every year we're buying new equipment, replacing the old. That's first and foremost. Make sure our kids are outfitted with the best stuff that we can get. Secondarily, we coach hawk tackling, which was made famous by the Seattle Seahawks.
Right.
It's you get your head out of the tackle. When I was growing up, it was get your head across. Now you're getting your head out of the tackle. You're wrapping and you're kind of using your body weight to get the tackler to the ground. It really decreases head injuries and issues like that. I always equate 5th and 6th grade specifically to kind of aggressive hugging for the
Right.
most part when they're tackling. When we moved into 7th grade last year, we did see a uptick and these are becoming, I would say, men. So the hitting is much more aggressive. So we definitely have had to change our game plan, our practice plan around hitting there.
He is Andy Irwin from the Junior Dukes program in Whitefish Bay, part of the AAYFL. Andy, I really appreciate your time. On the other side of the break, we'll turn it over to John Weiser and Terry Kelly as the Blue Dukes from Whitefish Bay travel to take on the Bulldogs from Cedarburg High School in a North Shore Conference matchup. This has been the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Primetime Preps Football Pregame Show presented by the superheroes at Current Electric, only on My 24.